I'm going to welcome folks, and I'm Bill Gassman, aka a Looncam operator, and tonight we're going to talk about the Looncam Recap, which is still capping, so we'll figure out what's going on there. I'd like to introduce the Loon Center manager and LPC, executive director, whatever title you want tonight, Harry. Harry Vogel.
Okay. Great.
You'll see yourself there.
Oh, sure. Yeah. All right. I see it. I see myself there. Yeah. Good. Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to in-person talks, which we're also live streaming these days for our Thursday night nature talk. A few words about Loon Preservation Committee before we get started. So this is an organization that was begun back in 1975 because people had noticed that loons were becoming less common on our lakes. The thinking back then was that if human activities had contributed to those declines, and it seemed pretty likely that they had, then human activities, if they were coordinated and thoughtful, could reverse those declines once again. So that's the hope and the philosophy on which the Loon Preservation Committee was created. We have been working since 1975 to restore and maintain a healthy loon population throughout New Hampshire, to monitor loons and loon populations as indicators of environmental health, the quality of our lakes and ponds, and also just to promote a greater awareness and appreciation for not just loons, but the larger natural world. And so we have done that work through monitoring and research and management and education. And tonight I'd like to spend just a quick minute talking about monitoring because this coming Saturday is an important day for loons in New Hampshire. It's the day of our loon census. And so this is a day where we try and get as many people as we can out on the lakes from 8 o'clock until 9 o'clock for a 1 hour period of time counting loons. And the great thing about this is that it gives us a snapshot in time of our New Hampshire loon population, but also people in Vermont and in Maine are doing the same thing at exactly the same time period of time. And so we're getting a regional picture of our loon abundance and productivity as well. I actually have a couple of forms up here for those of you who are here in person. You can also just go onto our website, loon.org, and find that there. And then once you have completed that census, if you want to, you can make your way right here to the Loon Center because we have our Loon Festival that goes from 10 o'clock until 2 o'clock. And that's just a celebration of loons and our fascination with them. So the Rotary is going to be here, free hot dogs and ice cream for everybody who comes, courtesy of Meredith Rotary, and loon talks and kids crafts and a Dunk the Biologist dunk tank and all manner of things as well. So a great family family event, and I encourage you all to come. And so that's all that I want to say, I think, about the Loon Preservation Committee stuff, and I'm going to turn it back to Bill. And by way of introduction, Bill, this is your 7th year, I think now, right? With our Looncam and our Loon webcam. My goodness, right? And Kelly, our Loon Center manager, said, I need to tell everyone that Bill is a saint for putting up with us for this amount of time. And really, Bill is a whole other staff member. We have volunteers. We have many volunteers, close to 1,000 volunteers. A few of them rise to the level of Bill, who is just, 24/7 pretty much during that during that time of loon nesting and things. We could not do this without him. He has helped us in so many ways, not just with the Looncam, but other technical issues as well. So it was a good day for Loons and Loon Preservation Committee, the day that Bill walked through our front door, and we are so happy to have him. There is much to talk about with our webcam and things, and so I'm going to hand it right over to Bill and take it away. Good.
Thank you, Harry. Well, my calendar, my schedule says tomorrow plan on a loon hatching. Because we had we went to install the Looncam on Looncam 2, and the loons were already there, which meant there was an egg there, and there hadn't been an egg the day before. So we didn't know how many were there. It didn't get up and show us. So we figured there was one egg, and then a couple days later, once we got the camera going, we realized there were 2. We have no idea when they were laid, except we think they were Friday. And so 4 weeks from Friday was this Friday, and so we're like, oh, okay, that's when it's going to be. Well, it could have been Thursday at noon because the biologist had checked it on Thursday morning, and they could be 2 days early, and so that's why probably it started hatching on Tuesday. So it was sort of a crazy week. Yesterday was a 17-hour day for me because they get up to crack of dawn, so I had to. And then they just didn't really go to sleep last night. And I got up this morning just in time to see them, the father come back, because we thought the father was missing. So he came back this morning. And it's been a crazy day. So this presentation, it's done, but it hasn't been practiced. And so I have no idea how long it's going to take, and we'll, there were some things that were supposed to happen. First thing, this is a Looncam. This is actually Looncam 1. It's still dirty. I removed it, but I haven't really cleaned it yet. This is obviously, and this is the microphone. I'll just set that here for a minute. The camera itself is a security camera. Sometimes you see these on telephone poles and stuff. It has a really good zoom capability. This one has sound as well, which is important. They don't all have sound. And then there's a piece of software that we bought from a company in Europe that it's like $200 that lets us broadcast on YouTube. So normally they wouldn't go on YouTube, but we can broadcast on YouTube. So we obviously use that. This thing up here is the infrared light, which we light up at night so we can see the nest. And then down at the bottom is just weird to normal adapters. I could spend an hour explaining what's going on in here, but just basically the connections that bring the power to the camera, and bring the sound and bring the power to the infrared light. So this just gets screwed into a pole. The pole gets put down on the into the mud. Looncam 2 is actually on the shoreline. It's still in the water, but it's against the shoreline because we couldn't get close to the nest because the nesting had already started. And then, I'm just going to set this down so it doesn't fall. The microphone we cover with a lot of camouflage. And with Looncam 1, this was literally tie wrapped inside the nest, and so we could hear great. We could hear the chicks peeping, we could hear the clicking of the shell when it was trying to get out of it. Looncam 2, this is tied in a tree on the shore, so it's okay. It's just not as good as we would have liked. But you didn't want to mess with the loons, right? So, all right. So, and for those of you that are watching, I got a lot of technology going here that it should work. It has worked, but we'll see. There's always glitches to be had, I suppose. So I'm going to switch that over so they're seeing the same slides that you're seeing, and let's see if this works here. One more little click. This the camera picked up during the staging period, before we even installed it in Looncam 1. And this, the photo, this is from Looncam 1. The pictures here, we sort of had an old golden pond moment when the suns were setting. This camera was sort of facing the sunset, and you could see the loon nest at the same time. So it was something we did on purpose because the aesthetics of that was just amazing. All right, let's get into it here. It was a pond fairly close to here. We don't reveal it because we've had photo bombers, and we just try to protect the privacy of the loons and the shoreline residents, because they're very, to have a camera in your backyard or in your pond for 6 weeks is sort of intrusive, and so we try to at least minimize how many people know what's there. So this is the recap. We're going to talk a little bit about what's been going on. This particular picture, and I've got so many pictures, but this one is one from Looncam 1, where the loon came really close to the camera in the morning. We were able to get some good shots. We're going to talk about a little overview at a high level to what is the camera and what's the program all about, how it works and so forth. Then we're going to go into the what do we see, and this is going to be a lot of videos that were taken during Looncam 1. I do have a couple Looncam 2 videos too, but as you might imagine, it's still ongoing, so not as many. And very quickly, I think that's going to take the hour, maybe a little longer, and so we're going to be very quick on how does it work, but I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have. Okay, so the overview, it's a 24/7 broadcast, and it's really about research. It matches LPC's goals to get people aware of what's going on. It does provide some interesting information to LPC because the loons do things that aren't in the textbook, and so we've learned a few things over the years. It starts in May. We started May 2nd this year, which was a little bit early, but we like to have a couple weeks to sort of make sure that the equipment's working well, because once the hatch happens, it's done, right? It's got to work that day. And we end in mid-July, which we should have ended yesterday, but maybe we'll end tomorrow. We've been doing this since 2014. LPC did. I came in, I believe it was the third year that they did it, and been doing it ever since. This year we started something new. We had zoomies because I just don't have 24 hours a day to run the camera. And you can set it just to the nest and just watch the nest, and there's the loon sits and it gets off and it gets back on. But there are interesting things that happen. Turtles show up. Sometimes there's a little fracas going on off camera, and so by having other people trained to move the camera around, we've gotten more interesting shots, and it's relieved me of some of the time. We were able to go camping for a week, and I can still manage the camera when I'm camping, but I didn't have to. So we're going to extend that program next year. We're looking for people that local people, because I'd like to train them here and be able to wring their necks when things go wrong. But so we're going to try that again next year if there are any volunteers that will probably do some training in probably April, and really get into the camera so you can learn how to make it sing and dance, because sometimes you gotta. We have a very lively chat community. That's an understatement, and it's a really nice chat community because I use it to tell when something happened. Oh, the loon moved off the nest and I wasn't watching, so did it go left or did it go right? There are people that keep timestamps of when things have happened. We had a person this year that made a spreadsheet. And so and our biologist, Biff, who does the blog, took that data and, as a scientist has to do, made graphs out of it. And so now we have a nice graph of when the male and the female were on and off the nest, what times they were, what the variation was, and so forth. And in this particular nest at Looncam 2, it's about a 2-to-1 ratio. So 2/3 of the time the female was on the nest, 1/3 of the time the male was on the nest. Other years, it's been a little more even. So that's an interesting statistic, and that's the kind of thing that we can do because we do watch it all the time. There's an on-demand clip gallery. There's over probably 200 clips by now. I think this year we made over 40 clips just of things that have happened. And so when you have sort of a need for some loon activity, you just go to that and watch all sorts of things. You can see an egg be laid, you can see the hatch happen, you can see a loon chase another. We had a big loon fight today, and we have that is in the library as well. So there's lots of things. Over the years, many weird things have happened, and we have video clips of many of those things. And it also links with the other LPC programs. So we do a membership drive in May during the Member a Day in May campaign, and we help promote other activities that LPC does. The loon.org/looncam is our page on the LPC site, and there we put the news, like what's happening. So if you're like, well, what's going on in the nest, I try to update that as soon as anything new happens. We actually have the live stream itself there, so sometimes the stream ID changes on YouTube. So if we throw people to the LPC site, the current stream will always be there. Biff's blog, which is Biff is a great writer and just tends to put things in a context that a few others can. So we all love reading that. And there's just lots of information about the pair. How long have they been mating? How long have what's the success ratios and stuff like that, and also information about the camera. YouTube Live, YouTube is great. When I first started doing this, we were using a different service, and we switched to YouTube, and it's free, which makes it nice, but it's easy to use. Everybody uses YouTube. I mean, it adapts to your device. If you have a phone, if you have a big screen TV, it adapts to that. If you're slow network or fast network, it adapts. So that's great. It has a 12-hour rewind, which for this particular thing is great. You get a timestamp. You said, hey, there was a fight at 2:30 this afternoon, or 2:14. We get down to the second, and people can rewind as long as it's within 12 hours. So like when the last Loon leaves Looncam 2, I'll leave the camera running for 12 hours so people can go back and at least see what has happened right up to the very end. We get a pretty big audience. A 250,000 people view this during the Looncam season, and I'll put it that a 250,000 views. A lot of people view it a lot of times. So I don't know the exact number, and because of privacy, YouTube doesn't really give you accurate data anyway. But we do know that over a quarter million times people have looked at least some of that page. We know that people have generally looked at it for about 18 minutes on average. I know we have some people that look longer, and I think we have some people that look shorter as well. It just works. I mean, that's the thing I like about it. I don't have to worry about it. YouTube just works. That's what we're using right now to broadcast tonight, so I like using it, and it's free. I looked at using a commercial service for this. $1,000 a month is minimum. So, it was a no-brainer. The community chat, I talked briefly about this, but it's a live interaction. We have a lot of regulars. I'd say there's probably 30 or 40 regulars that are just always there. We have a morning crew and an evening crew. Some people just are there. They're local, they're national, they're global. We've got some folks this year from Ireland, and we have someone from Switzerland and from Germany. We've got someone from Russia. It's pretty broad. Poland is a large contingency. Canada, of course, because they have loons up there. New Hampshire is the #1 resident of people that watch it, but New York and Massachusetts and Minnesota are also right up there. So we have all those statistics, and it's great. But the chat people bring a point of view from many different points, and so yes, the New Hampshire people are we talk about local things, and we've got some folks that are out there on the kayaks and talking about, oh, this is what I'm seeing right now, which is really great. But we also have folks that can talk about that red-throated loon that they just saw yesterday and so forth. So it's a pretty neat organization. We also did a fundraising thing this year. We had one of the chatters did a fundraising, raised over $1,500 that will go towards the Looncam itself. And speaking of that, the Looncam is self-sustaining, so I don't have to go to Harry and beg for money. Harry has never turned me down. It's always about how good can we get this? How good can it be? This year, we had some problems with the old cameras are not supported anymore, and they were bogging down. And I was training some of my Zoomy crew, and one of them was saying, well, this is, I do this, and 5 seconds later the camera does it. And I said, oh yeah, that's just the camera. It's an old camera, it's a slow processor, and as the software gets newer, the camera gets older. He had a friend at Axis Communication, which makes the camera. And lo and behold, a week or so later, we had 2 brand new cameras sitting in our office worth about $4,000. But it cost another $1,000 or so to put the mounting and the cables and the software and other things to it. So we really did need a fundraising exercise to to be able to provision those cameras to use them. And we did. We swapped out Looncam 1 because it came right in the middle. It was right before they nested, so I didn't have to worry about that. I just rode out there and swapped cameras, and it just worked. The mug represents the prize. We had this contest we had. You had to guess when the loon would hatch on Looncam 1. And the two people that were closest to that for the first and second egg got one of the mugs. Again, paid for by Bill Putcomb, who was he's just chatter. He's a LPC volunteer, but he not only got us the cameras, but he also arranged for this contest and ran it and declared the winner and sent out the mugs and everything else. So yeah, it's that kind of volunteer that we see on chat that really makes this a worthwhile endeavor. All right, so what do we see? We see the cycles of reproduction. I mean, that's what that's what LPC is all about. It's getting, making more loons. So we see the challenges to a successful hatch. Now this year we got 4 out of 4. Now they're not fledged yet. They're one of them's 2 of them are 3 weeks old, and two of them are 2 days old. So we're not into the fledging period yet. We're not counting that. But just the fact that the eggs have hatched. I mean, we've had squashed eggs. We've had broken eggs. We've had stolen eggs. We've had. Excuse me.
The stream is cutting off some of the like the last 2 lines, and also some of the loon picture.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you can adjust that or not.
I can adjust that. Okay, Kelly is telling me that we're cutting some stuff off, and I can see where that's possible. We're using the Minicam software. Oh yeah, I can see why that's happening. That's weird. I'll just adjust this a little bit. Thank you.
No problem.
This Minicam, I have only used it a few times, and it said, "Oh, do you want me to make it full screen?" And I said, "Sure." Okay, I mean our screen still looks the same, but now the screen that goes out to the world should look better. Okay, real-time tech support there. Let me find where we were or where I was.
Challenges to success.
Oh, I got to find the right window here so I can click the right button. Okay, I think I'm back where I was. All right, I'm back. Okay, so challenges. We've had many challenges. We've seen all sorts of ways that loons are not hatched. We've had eagles steal our loons within hours of being hatched. We've seen eggs that just didn't hatch at all. We have no reason why. They fell out of the nest in some cases. So we do have a lot of failure examples over the years, but in general we do pretty well. And this is only the second time we've had 4 out of 4 eggs hatch. So that's pretty good. We're pretty happy. Really what it's coming down to is that LPC gives us the nests that they know are going to work because they keep statistics over the years. And so these are, we know about, this is the early season, the early pair, and this is the later pair. And so we know Looncam 1 will start in May sometime, and we know that Looncam 2 will start in June sometime. We see anthropomorphic personalities, and again, the scientists don't like this because you're not supposed to do that, but indeed, you can tell when the loon is mad or happy or, by the closer you get with that camera, the more you zoom in, the more you can sort of feel what the loon is thinking. And, maybe it's me as a bird brain, but I think that other people agree with me on that, so we'll just leave it at that. We see unexpected behavior. Loons don't ever go back to their nest once they leave, right? We've got one that's gone back 2 days after the hatch. So, and she's sitting there right now. She did go back on the nest for about a half hour earlier today. So, yeah, we've seen weird things happen. We've seen the male leave or the female leave for 2 days. We've seen the male leave overnight, which was last night. So, yeah, we see things that are different. I mean, every loon pair has its own personality. And that's part of the fun, is watching these folks these loons over a period of 4 weeks, maybe even 6 weeks from the time they start figuring out what nest it's going to be, and then make the nest and to hatch. You sort of get to know their habits, and it's sometimes the one loon will come up to change duty on sitting on the nest, and the other one's like, nah, not today, and other times it may get mad there. It gets on the nest and kicks it off. We have seen loons kick their little babies off the nest. Maybe it was an accident, but it sure looked on purpose to me. All right, then we see drama. Oh, do we see drama? We're good at drama. I don't know how it comes to us, but every loon nest. This one, particularly Looncam 2, was just textbook. Nothing was going on. Very boring until the hatch happened, and then it's been crazy ever since. We usually see loon chicks. I think 1 year we got skunked, but normally we at least see one. And then we see them leaving the nest, and here you have the classic, two parents with two chicks in the middle swimming off into the sunset, and they usually have a chorus, an announcement. They go through their whole repertoire of voices, and now we know it's over. Well, this pair hasn't done that yet, so we're not sure it's over. But yeah, generally that's sort of the sign of they're off to their brooding ground to let the chicks grow. All righty. So this starts early season. This is a inventory that LPC has volunteers show up and build nests, because I was Harry, was it 100 nests you put out? Something like that?
More than that this year.
More than that. And so there's always a need for new nests. And so this was early May. They're just sitting there. There might even be some snow off in the woods there. And then installation day, here's Caroline and one of our other helpers that helped put the Looncam in. That you can see the blue basket is the back of my car. It just was completely full of Looncam stuff that we took on site to install. And we have a spool of cable that we literally take the Ethernet cable and lay it on the bottom of the pond and take it out to the camera that way. And so in this case, it was about 250 feet of Ethernet cable, and that provides us both the power and the data. So, and it hasn't leaked yet, and it's amazing. It works, but it does. So that was May 2nd. Our first visitor, as always, was the red-winged blackbird, and last year it tried to make a nest there. In fact, it did make a nest there, and the loons convinced it that it wasn't for it. So, but anyway, it's great. It's a good first visitor, and it has the nice song, and it's nice and colorful, and it's something to practice zooming in on, and just we're starting to work the camera, make sure it's working and everything. So we like the first visitor. And then the day 3, so this would be May 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th. The loon. This is the first loon found the nest. It's like, oh my! So I got a little video here. So, you can anthropomorphize that. That loon's very happy that they don't have to build a nest this year. There's a nest already there waiting for them.
Is that the first time you put it on that lake, that particular lake?
No. This has been on this lake quite a bit, but it wasn't in the water. So we had put it in the water on May 2nd, and so they were like swimming around, where's my nest? And this year...
Do you pad it with all the leaves and such?
Well, this year, yes, because last year it was just very bare, and we have a video from last year where the loon is complaining about where's my padding, and so this year we put 3 buckets of moss on it, and probably too much, because by the end of the season, the growth was so much we could hardly see the hatch happen. So like, remember that next year is nothing on the front of the nest. We learn so much every year. And we had birds and ducks. So May 2nd to I think it was May 26th is when the first eggs came. So we had a lot of time to watch things happen. So we had ducks and birds. We had a turtle, the big snapper. Oh, this guy was huge, right? We had the little guys. They were on the nest. So we're like, oh, maybe we have a turtle cam this year. And then we had the goose cam. Oh, the goose. We really did not think that the loons were going to go on that nest because the geese basically had adopted it. Every night they were on it, and they seemed to live there. They got in there, of course, goose stew, and yeah, we were a little concerned for not, but so now the geese are getting serious. You can see there. I got a cool picture of them leaving the nest, but yeah, they're very very comfortable there. And then I had to do janitor duty because the every day it was just sorry about that. I had to rake it up, so you got to at least look at it. And you know, we were really concerned. I mean, everybody was concerned that they might not show up, and so I went out there with a rake and I took care of it. And the loons did show up a day later, so I think that maybe it helped. I don't know, but I did my duty, or I did their duty. So we can play with the camera because there's no loons, so it doesn't matter. So here's a nice little nighttime star thing. Yeah, a little quick thing, but hey, I have a better one later. So now again, the loons are starting to show up. This is the 18th of May. They're starting. They'll show up for 10 minutes, check things out, and then take off. Well, I got them taking off here, and this is a pretty cool video. Short but sweet. This is the back side of the nest. I had to go and adjust the microphone, and so you know, we all see the front side with the camera, so it's like, well, what's the back side look like? Here's what it looks like. But you can see how deep that bowl is, and you know, it helps because if there's the nest is rocking either in the wind or with boat wake, it's important to have that deep bowl so that the eggs don't fall out. Now that the pair's getting a little interested, this is the 21st, and they're starting to show up on the nest. We have a little mating on shore. This is not graphic, but there they go in. This is the only time we caught them this year. And now, if you're interested in seeing the real thing, we've got on our YouTube channel. But mating on shore is interesting. We didn't see them mating on the nest once this year, which is unusual. Okay, so loon egg 1 arrives. Well, this is a little graphic. Jenny likes to turn her head when. Okay, it's over. I made it short. And there it is. There it is. So now we have an egg, and this is the what is the date? It's the 29th. So the 29th is when we really started the season. This was a wayward egg. Was an all-night event. I'm not going to show the whole night, but the mother screwed up. She dropped the egg off into the side of the nest, and we were all concerned it was going to fall into water. And so several times during the night she came back trying to get that egg back into the bowl. I don't really know why she didn't. I mean, she's so close every time. And then in the morning they changed positions, and the male just got on there and just boop, it just went in. I mean, he didn't do anything different. It just worked for him. I don't know. Anyway, here's a little clip of that. That was her first mistake, was falling off the bowl. And now she thinks she's in the nest, I think. See? She rolls it the wrong way. There it goes. So now what? Right? I mean, it's the only egg in there, so what happens now? Oh my. You can sort of anthropomorphize this. Like, what's she thinking? Oops, I screwed up. I gotta fix this. Now, she did this 3 or 4 times. I'm not providing the whole thing, but You'd think so. You'd think so. I mean, I was like, oh yeah, it's good. Oh, that's the male. That's the one that he came on the nest, and then he smashed his head against the side of the. So I don't know. I mean, it was early in the season. They were just still learning how to be loons again. And then we had another one. I don't really remember what the danger was, but the loons obviously felt there was some danger. So this is sort of their actions when a danger happens, when they think there's a problem. Little wing walking there. A wing rowing. I don't know what the problem was. Maybe there was a frog or something. I don't know. So then intruders have been in the story this year, and so we had the constant intruders on Looncam 1. And here's a case of there were 3, and they basically kicked him off. So he's going to go fly away. There he goes. They convinced him without really any fights or anything. There were some other altercations during the month, but that wasn't too bad. And then the second egg occurred. This one is not as graphic, but yet. And so this was, the date is the 30th. So, it was just like a day later, which is good because you like to have your eggs within a short period of time so that they hatch within a short period of time. This is another week. Sometimes we catch these loons in a loony type of situation. This guy fell asleep and woke up thinking, he must have been having a dream or something, but you'll see. He's like, oh, what was that? What was that? I didn't mean it. And then settling back in. Now this is just this is the same sequence, but he's just turning around, and it's a good example of how they walk around the nest and just make sure the eggs are in a good situation. Okay, so now this is a loon altercation. This is way off in the distance, so I had to zoom out quite a bit. But we're watching one loon chase another around the pond. And again, at one point, I think we had 5 loons in the area. And so they had to be convinced to stay in their part of the pond, or a different pond, preferably. Yeah, I don't know if it was me or the other zoomies, but yeah, sometimes you hear it. You hear squawking, and anytime you hear squawking, you're like, "What's going on?" And you look around, and then I think in this case, the loon that was on the nest left the nest to join the party. Like, get out of here. Well, that's the way, it's territorial. Loons don't mate with each other for life. They mate with the territory. And so they fight for their right to be the loon in that territory. And so that's what's maybe going on here, especially if it's a successful nest. If they constantly have chicks every year, the loon's going to say, hey, I want that territory. I want to be there. So it happens. We see it a lot. This is just, again, a litany of loon calls. We just... Quick little thing. And then another little quick ditty. We just happened to, Osprey flies into the upper left corner and then catches a fish and flies off with it. And this is a great example of the chat room, because I would have never seen that. It happened so quickly. But somebody saw it, and they put the timestamp in there, and so I was able to go back in the archive and pull it and make a video out of it and share it with everybody. So that's the value of having the chat room. Okay, what do we have next here? Okay, now we have a hatch in progress. Now let's call this the Looncam operators method. You see, this is sped up, but you can see how the back is just sort of I'm going to play that again. I'm going to watch for a series of jerky movements, because normally they just spend the night being pretty still. Now just see, just sort of watch those little burbles. And again, this is sped up, but Tuesday night, or was it Tuesday morning, I looked at Monday night's archive and I sped it up to 8x, and I saw the same kind of thing, and I'm like, uh-oh, we're going to have a chick today, or it's looking good, right? And then I saw a pip at 5:30 in the morning, and it's like, oh no. And so on it went from there, and sure enough, by that evening we had ourselves a loon chick. But that's my my secret method is that sped up video. Remember the Hunt for Red October, the movie, and in that movie the guys speeds up the Russian submarine. Bum, 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 bum. It sounds like whales humping, he says, but speed it up, and it sounds like that's mechanical. And it's the same kind of thing here. When you speed visual things up, you can see other patterns in it. And so again, I'll tell you my secret. But all right, so now we have a pip. This would be you can see the pip in that egg, and here we have the loon getting on the nest and turning. We all look for the pips, right? That's like the chat of the day is like, is there a pip? Is there a pip? And, the first person to get a pip gets bragging rights. Now he sticks that beak inside that egg a little bit. I don't know what's going on there, but anyway, chick came out all right. I know. Sometimes these eggs are thick, right? Because these loons just squat down on them, and they don't seem to break. Okay, here we have the chick hatching. Now this is you can see the chick literally coming out of the egg in this part. This is something that sort of rare. We haven't really seen this before. This was a great catch. And we don't count it a hatch until we see the chick appear. That kind of like for the contests and stuff. The chick has to actually. That chick was there, but until it comes out from the mother or the father, we don't count it. So this is the first. There he is. The first couple hours they're pretty wet. and they move a little bit and then sleep for a bit and stuff. They sample everything on the nest. As Biff said today, they sample everything and eat some of it. Okay, I guess that's it. Okay, now again, the next event that we all look for is that first swim. You know, and we've had some reluctant swimmers this year. But anyway. Watch his wings here. I think he flaps his wings a little bit. You got to peck at your mother too. You know, it's part of the game. Yeah, it's amazing what they can do at just hours old. All right, another danger. Oh, so now this was the event at the end. Okay, this is the day they're leaving. I mean, this is within the last hour on the nest. And everything was going good. And then all of a sudden, what we think happened, you can use your judgment here too, is that a snapping turtle grabbed the leg of the male. And you can see him flapping around and trying to get free from something. Again, maybe a snapping turtle. And eventually he does get free. So, yeah, just see what you think. I was slow with the camera here, but something's going on. Did this for 3.5 minutes. Now the baby's swimming back towards the mother. Smart little chick. There he is. Of course, a heron goes by just to, make things interesting. It sees an awful lot of motion, not much movement. So, yeah. But after that, then he seemed okay. He flapped his wings and he did a dive that like normal loons do, and everything seemed normal. He disappeared for an hour though, and some of us thought he was gone. Like, okay, what now? And this is where the chat room sort of gets, ties himself in knots, right? We can go into yeah. So anyway, they did finally meet up, and this is when after an hour, he finally shows up and they meet. They yell at each other. Where the heck were you? No, not for sure. But he didn't seem worse for wear.
But even just then, when we got back together, they were so young. He was so young.
Yeah. Well, that might have been because they're getting ready to leave the nest, and they always do that announcement yodels. So I think that might have been it. This is the actually what happened was, this happens all the time. They think they're leaving, but then one of the chicks decides it's not quite ready, and so they take it back to the nest to let it rest a bit and dry off. And this is a great example of this because so they've been in the water, they've had all this drama and everything, and the one chick gets on the a little burp in the camera here. Go away. The one chick gets on, he's fine. The second chick, it looks like a wet rat. Wait till you see it. Yelling at that thing. Get back here. That's the first chick born. It's fine. Tell me that thing doesn't need a few hours to dry off. So they might have thought they were ready to leave, but they weren't. So then a couple hours later, we finally have leaving the nest. And I mean, this is just the classic swim off into the sunset. Oh yeah, we gotta have our little sibling rivalry. I don't think we've had a hatch without it. Some people thought it was raining. It was actually, that's the bugs. We're zoomed in, so we're looking at a lot of distance in a short. And our golden pond moment again. It became too far to see them. They were they were out there, but you just dots. So we called it a day. Now the camera was up for a couple days after that, because we always do a after the nest exam, and one of the interns or Caroline comes out and examines the nest, takes the shells away. If there's a membrane there, takes that, just sort of looks around. And we've gotten into a habit of broadcasting that. A lot of people like, they've sort of experiencing withdrawal after watching a camera for six weeks. So give them an extra 20 minutes or so of here we are back. So the camera keeps running for a few days, but YouTube's not running, so I get to play with it. And I made this time lapse video. Anyway, it's self-explanatory. This is not published in the archives. Isn't that nice? I get to play. That's one of my rewards. Okay, so Looncam 2, what can I say? So it started after 2 eggs were already laid. So that was our first mistake. The hatch, well, I said due by July 15th. Like I say, that tomorrow is hatch day. Wrong. The camera and the mic were on shore rather than, so that we're actually twice the distance from the nest. And so a lot of the zooming that we do is not in the first half of the zoom, but in the second half of the zoom. And so the artifacts, just the quality of the picture when we're zoomed in is just not anywhere near as good. There's we're looking at the picture in the back of the room. The loon is back on the nest again. And there's the babies. So I don't know.
No rest for you, Bill.
Yeah, well, looks like another early morning. What the heck is going on? So it was pretty boring. They turned the eggs, they changed positions like they always do. And I mean, really, this was a very textbook example until yesterday. The male, they changed positions in the nest. And the male, I think I got this right. You guys were there on the water, so you can correct me if I'm wrong. But the male took the one chick out for fishing to feed it, whereas the other chick stayed with the mother on the nest. Well, the male abandoned it, basically swam away, and the chick swam around for a bit and finally found a buoy on the rope line, and considered that its mother. And hung under that thing for 4 hours. 4 hours. And the male was nowhere to be seen. I mean, maybe it was, the male did show up a couple times.
He did. It looked like the chick couldn't get past the rope. He was trying to get past the rope, he couldn't.
Well, good thing, right?
Went along the rope, found one buoy and then another, then went over toward the lily pads and then back out to the other little buoy.
So it started on the southern side of the rope, and that it ended up,
Closest to the dock of the house.
yeah, and it ended up for 4 hours at the other end of the rope. So it had gone quite a couple hundred yards.
You did go down to the lily pads for a while, and hung out down there for a little bit.
And back out.
And of course, 4 hours of chicks sitting by itself, we're all like, bass. There's bass in the area. There's eagles in the area, and who knows what else. There's snapping turtles. So, we don't want his name to be bait. And so John Cooley and Caroline Hughes and Kayla, don't know her last name, but decided a rescue was in order. And so they chased that little chick. I think they had a little trouble catching it. The first pass didn't work, but finally Kayla got it, and she kayaked over. And this is it's not the whole thing. It's a shortened version. The whole thing is published on the web, but yeah, this is her playing cornhole with the little chick. And then it imprinted on the kayak. And she came. There's a textbook, I think, that tells you how to do that. And then the chick's like, you know what? I like that kayak, so. And then the mother takes situation into her hands. It sounds a little bit quieter on this than it should be. But see, that thing comes flying back. And then it's like, well, maybe not. So she goes after it. Get back here. And so anyway, that whole thing lasted about 10 minutes, but she swam around with it and finally got the chick back on the nest. And that's probably a save because that father never came back all night. And I'm not sure the mother knew where it was. And there was a chick already on the nest, so she wasn't going to leave and go get it. We don't know why. I mean, there's a territorial dispute going on the pond, and maybe the male stashed it there, thinking I got to go fight some territory and I'll be back, and it just never got back. But the male's a new male. There's no banding on it, and so that means either it's never nested or it's never been caught nesting. So we don't know if it's its first rodeo or if it's experience, but we're sort of assuming it's lack of experience. But at the same time, yeah, what he did put that chick at risk, and it's an example of how LPC can intervene in certain ways, and ways that are grounded in science and save a chick. Because if that chick survives, that's probably at least a dozen chicks that are going to get produced over the years, over the next 30 years. So that's the kind of thing that it makes a difference.
What time did he end up coming back this morning?
About 5:30. About 10 minutes after I got up.
Obviously.
I got up, I'm like, I better check. And I just got into my office. I hadn't even made coffee. Hadn't even the dog was like, wanted to go outside. Sorry, dog, you got to wait. And then the male comes back, and of course,
So you check the Looncam.
well, the dog knows better. The dog doesn't normally get up till 6 or 6:30, and is like, I'll get up and get fed now. That's okay. All right, what do we got here now? Oh, well, yeah. There are other videos like the fight that happened today. I would really recommend looking at that. The story's not over. It's sitting on the net, so we'll make more videos of what's going on. But Looncam 2 is still.
And the male has not been around.
Male hasn't been around most of the day, but he did have that fight. It was I should have put it in here, but I just didn't have time. But it was one of the best or worst loon fights I've seen. I mean, they were whomping on each other, grabbing each other's beak and diving down. And in one case, the female got involved with it, and she came shooting up like a rocket and did a pirouette in midair, landed, and then it was just amazing. So you got to go see that video. Again, I wish I had it here, but the story is still being told. She's getting off the nest right now. Okay, so the camera. I'm going to be really quick with this. In previous years, I've gone into gory detail, but if you really have questions, we can answer it. Basically, it's a camera that does pan. I can move this way, I can tilt, and I can zoom. So it's called a PTZ camera. It has the infrared lights for nighttime work. It streams to YouTube. It has an internet connection. We buy a commercial internet connection. It's 35 megabits per second upload speed. Download speed, we don't care. We won't upload. It's the most we can get. I would like to have 100, but I can only get 35. So that's what I used. Then we have a video archive. So we have two streams that go out. One goes to YouTube and one goes to our archive. And that saves it for 30 days. So anytime I want to go back and get a clip, make a clip, I pull that from the archive and then I edit that up. So that's really been useful. The new cameras allowed us to do higher resolution on the archive. Before we ran out of bandwidth, so I put YouTube as the 1080p, and the archive had to be 720p, a lot, half the resolution. Now with more powerful compression in the camera, we can do both streams at 1080p, so our archive videos are just much more high resolution. So Harry likes that, right, Harry? Harry's wants the 4K resolution, and there's 8K out there now, Harry, but until we get symmetrical fiber and a gigabit each direction, and the donations come in at $6,000 a camera, we're probably going to be stuck with what we've got. Then I do a time lapse. The camera takes a picture once a minute and puts it into a network server. And so what I found is that's a really easy way. If I was there a nest change overnight, or what happened during the night, I can very quickly look through the once a minute thing and find out when something happened, and then go to the archive and pull it, right into that particular period and get the footage down. So that, we keep that. And I have a remote power switch, which is one of my secret weapons. So if I need to turn on or off the camera, reboot it with a power reboot, or turn on and off the infrared, I can do that remotely from my living room. It's basically a little box with 2 power switches in it, and you can just turn them on and off. Looncam 2 is cool. It has a off-grid design. We run it off of batteries, 2 6-volt batteries with about 200 amp hours of power. And then we recharge the batteries with 2 solar panels. So we have 2 100-watt solar panels. I didn't know anything about solar power before I got involved in this, so we designed it, and we bought some stuff, and then we bought some more stuff, and now it works. And then there's a DC to AC converter, so it turns the battery power, DC power, into AC. We have an extension cord that runs 300 feet from the power station over to the camera. Now, normally 300 feet of power cord is a no-no, but because we're only burning about 35 watts, the amount of amps that are going through that cable are very, very low, so we're not losing a lot of voltage, and it's considered safe. I consider it safe. So far, it's been safe. I'll put it that way. And then we have a radio link. We got these fancy Wi-Fi antennas that they're curved like a little radar dish, and in theory, they can go 400 megabits per second for 3 miles or maybe 5 miles, which is crazy speeds. And we're only going 1,000 feet. So right now, the way I have them set up, the network speed is about 600 megabits per second, and we're using 35. So I got plenty of capacity. When we had that rain this morning and last night, the capacity goes down to around 480, 500. So I lose a little bit of my capacity, but I only need 35, so I'm fine. I've never had a problem. Those things have been solid as a rock the whole time, and I could go further. If we come up with a loon nest sometime, it's a mile away, I'd feel very comfortable using that technology. So we have that capability of solar and Wi-Fi to do anything we need to do. The system is designed to have about 3 days of capacity. So if it's completely cloudy and dark for 3 days, I might run out of power. But this has been a great last couple of weeks. It's been sunny except for a few days, and so we've been doing fine. And, I see that Kelly is having fun driving the camera. We're going to have to enlist her next year as a official Zoomie. She'll be hooked. Once you start driving that camera, it's fun. All right, so then this video library, we've got, you saw a small portion of what we have, and I cut them all down. So, you saw a 30-second of a 2-minute clip, that kind of thing. So if you get that sort of, need to see Loon sometime in January or even next week, go to our library, and there's plenty of stuff there. We've been doing this for years now, so again, there's hundreds and hundreds of examples there. I try to keep things under a minute. Some things you have to go to 2, some things you have to go to 5, just because of the subjects. But no matter how long I make it, most people don't even watch 30 seconds. That's just, we have statistics of watch time. People don't watch more. They're used to TikTok. They're used to the quick video stuff. So I try to have the excitement start within the first 3 seconds, and I try to keep it 30 to a minute. But sometimes you just got to go. I think that is it. We'll go to the question period. How much time did I take? Oh, it was an hour and 9 minutes. Not bad. Huh? Okay, I'll repeat the question. So anybody here have a question, then we'll go to the chat room, and I don't know how we'll figure out what they're asking, but we'll. So those of you that are chatting, retype your questions so I don't have to go back an hour of chat to find them. I'll do that as soon as we exhaust the questions here in the room. Yeah. Anybody? Yeah.
Yes, so once the chicks leave the nest, where do they go?
So they go to a brooding area. So, I'm sorry. She asked, where do the chicks go once they leave the nest? So in a lot of, like an eagle nest or other kind of nest, they grow up in the nest and then they get booted out and fly or die, right? So in this case, their nest is the lake, because loons don't like land, they like water. And so they go to an area in the same body of water, because they can't fly, that has fish. Like where we have our nests tend to be boggy. You know, they're a lot of lily pads and stuff, and they're 3 feet deep, and they may not have as much fish as the loons require. Harry could probably rattle off the statistic, but they use a lot of fish, right? To grow up a couple chicks. Is it how many pounds of fish is that?
I've heard statistics about essentially more than a ton.
A ton of fish.
But then mostly these are small.
Little minnows, right. So anyway, they go to an area that is safer, you know, because like where the lily pads are, they can have bass and stuff. So they like the Looncam 2, their brooding area is about a half mile away. And that's one of the reasons they'll stick in the area for a while, because they have to go through a couple other territories, which is hostile territory. And so they let those chicks grow up for a couple days and stabilize before they make their mad dash through the DMZ and go to their brooding area. And then they'll be there 8 to 12 weeks, and they learn to fly, they learn, you know, grow up, and the parents leave first, and then the chicks generally leave in October after the parents. They go to the ocean, and they don't come back for 3 years. The ocean. And I mean, Harry can again tell you, but I think Portland, Maine, I've seen them in there in the wintertime. South Carolina. Our loons here tend to concentrate on the East Coast and even northern East Coast. You get out to the Midwest, the Minnesota loons and so forth, they go to the Gulf of Mexico, so they have to fly a lot longer. You know, our loons that are, let's say they're at Portsmouth, they can fly to Winnipesaukee, say, oh, ice isn't out, fly home for the afternoon. You know, that doesn't take, they can check things out, whereas in the Midwest, they have to fly across the country or up the country. And so those loons tend to be smaller because they have to fly more. See, I picked up a few things along the day, Harry. Thanks for coming. All right, so I'll go to the chat room here and see if anybody has any questions. Chatters never have any questions. Let's see. Okay, people are saying that they found them. Here, I'll pick this up here. They found them in along the coast of New Hampshire in Booth Bay Harbor. Okay, what's the ratio of hatched to fledged?
That is 70% survival rate, give or take.
70%. I had heard it was less than that. Well, once they're hatched, once a chick
is hatched, it's got about a 70% chance of making it to fledgling.
Okay.
You know, or at least in mid-August.
Yes. Okay. So once they're hatched, they have a 70% chance of making it till mid-August when LPC stops checking them. When but a late egg to fledge is more like a 1 out of 4, right?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Because a lot of eggs don't make it.
Close to 50% of nests fail, despite our best
50% of nests fail. Okay. Do you have a list for me?
Yes, I do.
All right, Kelly. Our new Zoomy has a list for me. Do you want to read them to me, or do you want me to just read them? Or
I mean, if you think you could read my handwriting, you're more than
why don't
welcome
you
to
read
do
them to
it.
me?
I'll read it.
Come over here so they can hear you on the speaker.
And some of these may end up being for Harry.
Get much out there, but
Don't want to blind myself here. Mainly because the first question I have is about global warming and its issues with loons, or for loons. So I'm really thinking that's probably Harry. Unless you know.
well, yeah. Why don't Harry answer that, and I'm gonna basically change the.
Okay.
Go ahead, Harry. Harry, do you want to come up here and talk about the
Sure.
the
Yeah.
do a quick razzle dazzle on global warming, and you have that all canned, right?
Let's try not to trip over cords and things. Okay. Where should I be standing?
Just
Bill,
so
right
you
over here? Okay.
Right there, so you can see yourself.
All right, good. Yeah, so global warming and loons. Yes, there are a couple of different ways in which global warming can affect loons here in New Hampshire. So loons are a northern species. They're very close to the southern limit of their breeding range here in New Hampshire. They're also a species that nests at the water's edge. And so that probably means trouble for loons when we're talking about a climate that is becoming warmer with more heat spells, and that's going to stress loons on the nest, and more rain events and storm events, which can quickly raise water levels and cause nest flooding and things. And so global warming, there's nothing good for loons that will come out of global warming. In fact, we're pretty concerned about it here at the Loon Preservation Committee. The good news is that we have 47 years worth of data on loon nesting success in warm years and cold years, wet years and dry years, years with heat waves, years with storm events. And so we have been mining that database to find out exactly what the impacts of all of those various weather conditions are on loons. And that's one of the ways in which we know that loons are going to be increasingly stressed by global warming, but also that there are management actions that we can take, to help loons. And so if you look at these nest cams, there's actually a layer of shade fabric over the top of these nests, and that helps loons reduce the solar radiation that's hitting that black plumage on these very, very warm days, just sitting on the nest. And simply the fact that they're on a floating raft helps them as well, because these rafts are floating. So a storm event that will raise water levels quickly 2 or 3 inches could easily flood out a loon nesting on a natural nest site. But if they're on a raft, that raft is just going to ride that out, because it's going to increase as water levels increase. So
Thank you.
okay.
Don't go anywhere.
Oh, boy.
A lot of these are for, a lot
All
of these
right.
are for you.
Okay. Oh my
Well,
goodness.
they're
Wow.
kind of for both. Someone wanted to know what we do to put the nest rafts in and then take them out.
Yeah.
Beyond brood strength, because that was one of the answers that someone gave.
Brood strength is certainly when we're removing nests from the water. Brood strength comes into play because some of these nests have been soaking up water, and so waterlogged. A dry nest is actually pretty easy. It's awkward because these are 4x4, sometimes 5x5 feet. So just like putting it onto a boat or towing it behind a boat to get it out to the nesting location still represents a challenge. And one of the challenges for these nesting is that we need to build these nests essentially and put them out in a pretty short window of time. So between the time that ice is out and loons are beginning to nest, it's a pretty limited amount of time, and it's really kind of all hands on deck as our biologists go across the state and put out these rafts. Some of the older, if that raft has been out on a lake for a number of years, we hopefully have a volunteer who has allowed us to pull that raft up on their territory, so you don't have to drive it from this location. But the lifespan of a raft might be 7 or 8 years before we really have to replace it. In that case, we need to transport new rafts that have been built here to wherever they're going, North Country, Connecticut Lakes, or something of that nature. So that can be an issue. And then removing the rafts at the end of the season, again, that's harder, and that can often take 2, sometimes 3 biologists to actually just get this waterlogged raft out of the water and up onto the shore, where it at least has a chance to dry out over the fall and winter before we want to put it back into the water again in the spring.
Do we know how many of the rafts we put out this year were used?
So this year, no, in any given year, so last year we put out 104 rafts, I think, throughout the state. In any typical year, 55% of those rafts are used, but many of them are just never used, and many of them are not used in any one year. So it's one thing to put out a raft, but it's another thing to have these loons actually approach that raft. I think some of them just, they'll float up to it and they'll say, no way, I'm not getting up on this rickety thing. I'm looking for a nice natural site, and they may be more tuned to do that. For some rafts, we put them out consecutively for 3 or 4 or 5 years before they finally get used by loons, and some of them, despite our best efforts, never get used by these loons. So
Do you ever relocate those, like the ones that
yeah.
get used a couple years in a row?
Yes.
Spot, or-
Yeah, there's a little bit of an art as well as a science. The question is about relocating these rafts. So if the rafts have not been used, we will try them in a different spot. Typically, we're always trying to put them in a spot that's sheltered from prevailing wind and wave action, and also a little bit removed from boating lanes, so busy traffic areas and things. So we will try and throw them in different areas of the lake if they're not used right away.
I mean, this one's obvious, but
Yeah.
we'll be tracking these 4 chicks till they fledge.
Yes, we will. Yeah, absolutely. And here's, of course, we found, people are really invested in these chicks, and we get questions, about Looncam 1 and how the chicks are doing. So both chicks are doing great, which is wonderful to be able to convey that news. And we will be following those and updating people over the course of the season.
This is a little bit of a behavioral thing, and it's why do parents tend to plop back down on the chicks after they've just come out of the nest or out of the egg?
Oh, so plop down. Oh, yeah.
'Cause
So
there was a video Bill had of like the
Yeah.
the loon had, or the chick had just come out of the nest or out of the
Yeah.
egg, and then the loon was just like
just kind of
right
falls
on
on
it.
them.
And it was
Right.
like, all right, well, I know he needs to be kept warm, or it
Yeah.
needs to be kept warm, and loon adults are not graceful.
Yes, and that exactly, Kelly. So that's one of the answers to that question. I think if loons could gently lower themselves onto eggs or chicks, they would do that. But the fact is that a loon anatomy, right? They're built for swimming. They're not built that much for walking or being that graceful on land, and so they kind of fall forward onto them. The reason why I think that these loons are doing this to these newly hatched chicks is it could help with thermoregulation, could help to keep these chicks safe. I think the chicks often in that first little span of time, if they're not on the nest, even when they're with the adults, they're sometimes hiding under a wing, right? Or sometimes just the head is poking out, along the wing. That could be a safety thing for these chicks, but it's also helping them to thermoregulate. Because if you're a very tiny animal, cold water or cold air can suck heat out of that tiny body pretty quickly. So it's probably helping them to maintain a stable and a good body temperature.
And this one is directly for Bill.
All right, over to you, Bill.
Someone really wanted to know, will Bill miss the chatters?
Well,
There's only one answer to that.
yeah, sure I will. But I know that, next May, they'll all be back. And, we've been doing this for 8 years. Some of them have been there every year for 8 years. And, every year we get some new ones. And the first couple of years we had to train them. I'll put it that way. Because we like to keep it on topic. We like to keep it clean and family oriented, because we do have a lot of kids that watch this, and some of the schools are using this in their classroom. So we like to keep it that way. But after the third week of sitting on an egg, you pretty much talked about everything you're going to talk about, and so people's health issues and where they're going on vacation and that kind of stuff does come up. We banned one person this year, which was great. Some years we ban a lot. I think I deleted 2 or 3 messages this year, because somebody said something that they just didn't even think about it. It was just inappropriate, and we didn't ban them. We just deleted the message. We didn't even put them in timeout. It is just out. We did find this year, because we get attacked by the spam bots sometimes. It's just the annoyance is out there, and we learned a trick that if you force somebody to be a subscriber before they can chat, they it went away. And also turn on the slow chat, so you can only chat, you can only type something every 3 seconds. If you have to type something more than every 3 seconds, I don't think I want to hear it. So. So 3 seconds, yeah, wait. And anyway, it went away completely. We had no problem with the spam bots after we did that. And the good news is we gained about 20% of our subscriber base. From what we had beginning of the season, we've got over 5,000 subscribers now. So when we send out this presentation or any other thing on YouTube, people get notified, or you can choose to be notified. And so there's 5,000 people out there that we can get the word out to if something new is going on. So yeah, I enjoy the chat. To me, it's a great resource, and some people, like with anything, enough said.
That was it.
All right, well, thanks very much, and I can see that the loons are not, Kelly's been here, and so you better go find those loons again. And once I get home, I'll see what I can do about putting it on something interesting for tonight. Thanks those online, and I'm going to shut the session off here, and it will be saved so you can rewatch it at some point in the future. Thank you.
Thanks.